Hola, Tucson! Hi, Tucson! Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that we're on the ancestral lands that have been stewarded by the Tohono O'odham and Pasquayaqui peoples. And I want to welcome you all to Catalina High School. You know, the students that walk these halls speak 33 languages from 47 different countries. And this is the America I want to live in. My name is Adelita Grijalva. I am the granddaughter of a bracero, a hard-working Mexican immigrant who responded to the call when the U.S. needed labor, and I am the daughter of a congressman. That happened in one generation, because in the America that I want to raise my 3 beautiful children in, hard work and perseverance opens doors of opportunity that can change the future for an entire family, an entire generation. In Trump's America, I know, we will be a society divided by those who have it all and those who have nothing. The dismantling of our public education system, the defunding of our libraries and museums, the complete disregard for protecting our environment, attacks on our seniors, our veterans, Medicare, Medicaid, the villainizing and targeting of our immigrant and LGBTQ communities and women. Are we going to stand silently while the Billionaire Boys Clubs, the Billionaire Boys Club who bought this last election, roll over our rights? No way. This Oligarchy has got to go. No, I'm dealing with the greatest loss of my life. And I want to thank the thousands of you who sent prayers and condolences to me and my family after the loss of my amazing father, Congressman Raul Grijalva. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to come today, but I realized that there is no better way to honor my dad than to add my voice to this event. I want to join his friends who also fight for those who have no voice, can always be counted on to speak truth to power and show us what is possible when we stand up for justice, equity, and dignity for all. We have way too many politicians when we need more public servants. We need people less concerned about being reelected and more concerned about protecting the people. So I want to thank Congressman Casar, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Theo Bernie. Thank you for coming to Tucson and getting us fired up, because we really needed this. We needed to get together as a community and understand that we are not alone. So today is the Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta March in Tucson. And I want to honor them by doing a little chant. Okay? So when I ask you a question, you answer fight back. Okay? Are we ready? All right. When our education is under attack, what do we do? When our health care is under attack, what do we do? When our environment is under attack, what do we do? When our democracy is under attack, what do we do? Sí se puede. Yes, we can. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
free man in my grave than living as a puppet or a slave. So as sure as the sun will shine, I'm gonna get my share now. What's mine? And then the harder they come, the harder they'll fall, one and all. Ooh, the harder they come, harder they'll fall, one and all. Hey, the harder they come, the harder they'll fall, one and all. What I say now, what I say now. What I say now, what I say one time, the harder they come, harder they'll fall, one and all. Ooh, the harder they come, the harder they'll fall, one and all.
Please welcome to the stage Congressman Greg Casar.
Buenas tardes, Arizona. I'm Congressman Greg Casar from the great state of Texas. I'm proud to chair the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And Adelita Grijalva, I know your dad is watching us from the sky, cheering you on, rooting us on in this fight. It is his spirit, that never give up spirit, that we need so badly right now. Because I know so many of you are asking, what do I do next? How can I find hope in this dark time? Tucson, to me, the answer is clear. The only answer to growing autocracy is firing up the engines of our grassroots democracy. The only answer to oligarchy is organizing. The only answer to puppet politicians is the power of working people. I want you to remember this. Donald Trump wants you to feel powerless. The billionaire class wants you to feel powerless. They want you to feel powerless because they are afraid of the power on this field. They're afraid of the lines of people wrapping around this high school. It's time to take on the rich. It's time to take on the ultra-powerful. Your power is what they're afraid of. Your power that is organizing unions right now in this country like we haven't seen in 100 years. Your power that can break that unholy alliance between corporate greed and corrupt government. Your power that is scaring Republican office holders right now from holding any town halls. That might be the biggest news that we've missed in the last few days, is that House Speaker Mike Johnson told all the Republican members of Congress, don't hold any town halls, don't meet with your constituents. Well, we got a little town hall here today, don't we, Tucson? These fraud politicians are so scared that they will be exposed by Americans of all backgrounds and beliefs as the fraudsters that they are. That's exactly what we intend to do. Son una bola de cobardes y ladrones. Le tienen miedo a sus propios constituyentes. Ahora es nuestro momento para quitarle el poder a esta bola de ladrones. Vamos a quitarle el trabajo. We are not going to let them get away with this. We are not. If these puppet politicians want to represent billionaires instead of the people, then they should lose their jobs in the people's house. So they may not want to have the town hall, but we're having it here. Let's talk about what they don't want to talk about, starting with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. You can understand the whole Doge scam with just two numbers. First number, $8 million a day. Elon Musk gets in government contracts $8 million a day for himself. The second number is $65 a day. $65 a day is how much a senior who's worked their entire life gets to survive on Social Security. $8 million a day, $65 a day. If they were looking for efficiency, wouldn't they look into Musk's billions of dollars, or the billions of dollars Big Pharma milks from the taxpayers, or the billions of dollars that big tech screws us out of? They don't want to look into that because those corporations fund their campaigns. That's not right. It's not right. They want to come after programs for working people. They get their $8 million a day while they try to cut food stamps for the working class. While Elon Musk makes his $8 million a day in government contracts, he's coming after your grandma's $65 a day. While Musk gets his $8 million a day, he's trying to shut down the Department of Education, trying to shut down the Department of Labor. Musk wants you to work more hours to make him more rich. Musk wants you to pay more taxes to make him more rich. Tucson, I've had enough of this. It's time to say, fire Elon Musk. Fire who? Fire who? Don't fire public school teachers. Fire who? Don't fire nurses. Fire who? Don't fire our veterans. Fire who? Fire who? Well, it's time to talk about how we're going to do it, Tucson. You see, there's this debate happening in Washington, D.C. right now about how we should respond to the oligarchy. There are those, a general strike would be pretty good. I heard that at our town hall. There are those who say that politicians of conscience should just roll over and play dead. That's their words. And then there's those that say we should stand and fight. Anybody here think we should roll over and play dead? Anybody? No roll over and play dead people over here, over there? Well, Bernie Sanders is here to stand and fight. AOC is here to stand and fight. I hear some people are ready to stand and fight. Say it with me. Stand and fight. Stand and fight. When they come for our public schools, we're not going to roll over and play dead. We're going to stand and fight. When they come for our health care, we're not going to roll over and play dead. We're going to stand and fight. When they come for our veterans, we're not going to roll over and play dead. We're going to stand and fight. When they try to pass their tax cuts for billionaires, we're not rolling over and playing dead. We are going to stand and fight. That's exactly how we're going to beat them, Arizona. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. But remember what's possible when people come together in this country, organize, demand more, and stand and fight. In the 1920s, the robber barons, the Elon Musks of their day, they took over our government, enriched themselves, and caused the Great Depression. But people just like you didn't play dead. They stood, they fought, they organized, they took back our government from the ultra-rich, created Social Security, created the New Deal, beat fascism across the world. In the 1960s, the segregationists had a chokehold on our government. But people like you didn't play dead. They stood, they fought, they marched, they bled until they passed the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act and created Medicaid and created Medicare and created Head Start. That is what is possible when we organize. So on our darkest days, I want you to remember, there can be a world that is better after this. There has to be a better world after this. Our biggest enemy is not just Donald Trump, it's not even Elon Musk. Our biggest enemy is cynicism. The idea they try to implant into us that a better world isn't possible. The idea they try to put in our heads that no matter what we do, nothing will ever change. Because if they convince us of that, if they get us to tune out, then they have all the power. They can turn us against one another. They can get us to even give up. But that cynicism is a lie, Arizona, and our job is to expose the truth. Our job together is not only to save Medicaid and Medicare, our job is to pass into law giving Medicare to every single person in this country. So you never again have to check your bank balance before you go to the doctor. Imagine a world where healthcare is a right. It'd be very hard for a fraudster politician to come after our Medicare if every single person had it and they had to come after every single American. Our job is not just to beg corporate CEOs, oh, please lower prices. Please stop lowering wages. No, our job is to permanently get big money out of politics so that those CEOs don't get a bigger say than all of us. Our job is to break up the big corporate monopolies that are screwing us every single day. Bring down housing prices for good. Bring down grocery prices for good. Require good living wages for a full day's work. Put power back in the hands of everyday people from Arizona to Texas, all across America. That's our job, y'all. And very importantly, our job is not just to beat the fraudster Republicans at the polls. Our job is also to make sure the Democratic Party stops thinking small, does big things for working people, always, no matter what, period, and stop. Cut off ties to the billionaire class and stand with the working class every single day. Our job is to organize our workplaces around that idea. Organize our neighborhoods. Knock on every door. Hold town halls. Hold politicians accountable and rebuild our democracy. That's exactly what we're going to do. That is how we not only defeat Trump and Musk, but also defeat the hopelessness, the cynicism that created them. That is what we are tasked to do here today. And there is a young congresswoman who has shown the world how we create hope, how we take on the billionaires, how we take on the bullies. She's fearless. She's a true leader of our movement. She's who we need in this moment. She's a historical figure right now, right here. She's our champion for the working class. She's our champion for democracy. I'm proud to call up the Congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Hello, Arizona. Hello, Tucson. How are we feeling today? Are we ready to fight? Are we ready to win? And we will never, ever, ever give up. Thank you all so much for joining me today and for taking the time. My name is Alexandria. And it's so great to be here in Tucson today. You know, my home is a ways from here, but in truth, the distance between us is a lot shorter than we think. And it's a lot shorter than we're told. Mi casa es su casa. And this stop here in Tucson is particularly special to me. It has really special significance in my heart. I was very, very close with Raul Grijalva. And before I dive into it, I just kind of want to share with you a little bit about what he meant to me very briefly and what Tucson means to me by extension. And I know Bernie and Greg are going to say some remarks as well when we wrap up. But, you know, when I was first elected in 2018, I was a waitress, and I had won this upset fight. I had challenged a very, very powerful member of the Democratic Party, and we won in a totally upset primary election. And we won with no money, with just everyday people in our community coming together, outspent by millions of dollars. But people just coming together and believing that we deserved better somehow broke through. And it was a miracle, genuinely a miracle. And when I first got to the House, though, by extent, when you kind of unseat someone that has a lot of power and a lot of relationships in Washington, the reception that I first got on Capitol Hill was very hostile. It was very cold, and it was very, very, very lonely. And we all have our own experiences, but it was hard when you walk into a room every day and you're just met with so much contempt. But the first door that I walked into in Capitol Hill, the first door that I walked in was Raul Grijalva. And when I was being attacked, not just by Republicans in the right wing, but honestly by a lot of members of my own party, to find people who were kind and compassionate were very few and far between. And Raul Grijalva was the first person to open his door to me, the first. And he welcomed me, and he said, "You belong here. You belong here." Raul Grijalva, your congressman, is a reflection and was a reflection of Tucson's values, of you, of who each and every one of you were, because you believed in him. You sent and picked a man like that. Raul became the chairman of the Natural Resources Committee in Congress. Huge jurisdiction, control of all federal lands. And he came up to me, and not just me, but to so many other people. And he specifically wanted to hand women the gavels and the chairmanships of all the subcommittees of the Natural Resources Committee. And, you know, maybe people not from Arizona and from far other places may not know who Raul was. I know that you all knew who Raul was. And he never would, you know, put out a press statement and say, "Oh, look at all these women." No, he just did it. And because he knew it was the right thing to do. And as a Latina and as a Boricua, too. He was Puerto Rico en la casa siempre, ¿no? Con mucho amor a mi Chicano y Mexicano, but Boricuas, you know, we're loud. We're always, I guess we're all loud, but But, you know, and I think that's also a reflection, his work and commitment to public lands, to the public good, and also to making sure that Chingonas had the keys, was a reflection of his love, not just for Tucson, but for his daughter, his daughters Adelita, Raquel, Marisa, and his wife Mona. So I just want to send them so much love in this moment and let you all know that because of Raul, I will always be loyal to the people of Tucson and fight for you the way he would have wanted. So as we're in this moment of grief, it's not just, I hope we all come together and ensure that we carry on Raul's vision and his commitment and legacy, and we continue to choose and send people that make Tucson proud and that are committed to the public good. Now, let's get to why we are all here today. Because we're all here and we share in the frustration and the heartache from watching people in power actively tear down or refuse to fight for everyday working Americans like us. We're here together because an extreme concentration of power and corruption is taking over this country like never before. And we are here, most importantly, because we know that a better world is possible. Se puede. But to get there, we need to be honest about where we are, Tucson, because we are witnessing an oligarchy in America. When those with the most economic, political, and technological power destroy the public good to enrich themselves, while millions of us pay the price. And our political system is ill-prepared for this abuse of power. In fact, much of our political system enables this abuse of power, starting with the role of money in politics. But I'm here to remind you that we are not powerless in this moment. People are starting to put the pieces together. And ironically, the most divisive forces in our country are actually bringing more of us together than before. And that's important. And I want to let you all know, in every single stop that Bernie and I have had in the last couple days, we were in Nevada a couple days ago. We were in Greeley, Colorado, way out there in Colorado. We went to Denver. Every single stop has completely blown out all attendance projections. 3,200 people in Las Vegas. Out in Greeley, we went to a Republican congressman's district, Gabe Evans, who, you know, he just got elected. He just got elected. Usually your first 3 months on the job, you're on your best behavior. This guy hasn't held a town hall once. So we said, you know what, let's go out there, we'll hold our own town hall. We thought wildest dreams out there in Greeley. We thought maybe 2,000 people would show up. 11,000 people came out to Greeley. Then we went to Denver. And out in Denver, Colorado, again, our wildest dream, we were like, maybe we can get what if we got 20,000 people out in Denver? Last night, 34,000 people in Denver showed up. And as you can see here in Tucson, we originally... Do you need a medic? Do you all need a medic? Can we get a medic out here? Sorry, folks, we're going to pause the program. Can we make sure we get a medic out here, right here in the middle of the crowd? Thank you, officer. Let's hear it for our first responders. All right, they're going to come through here. Let's make a way. Let's make a way. Let them walk through. Let's get a medic out here. Thank you all so much for making this easy and working together. We're going to make sure we got them at it. Thank you for everyone holding up your hats so we can see where they're at. All right. Have they found them yet? Are they okay? Not yet? All right, we still need medics out here. Thank you. Do we have medics out here? Sorry, y'all, we just want to make sure they got their help. Are they good? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And that kind of coming together and caring for one another is what this is all about. So thank you all for your patience as we pause and stop. Thank you. Now, again, I want to remind you all here that we're not powerless in this moment. But we need to take stock of what is happening, because one of our best first steps is awareness. We need to say and call out what is happening so that we can educate others and talk to others about what's happening right now. Because the same billionaires who are taking a wrecking ball to our country derive their power from dividing working people apart. They specialize in getting us to turn on one another. And these billionaires bankrolling some of the most divisive media and some of the most disgusting, hateful posts that we see on social media, on television media. They want to divide us along lines of left or right, race and gender, creed and culture. And they will throw out every label and judgment and cultural debate in the book to keep us distracted, folks. This is what the focus on trans kids is all about. Come on, 1% of the entire population. If people want to have conversations about that, take it to the NCAA. It doesn't need to be on the floor of the United States Congress. We need to be taxing the rich on the floor of the United States Congress. We need to be establishing guaranteed health care on the floor of the United States Congress. Not erasing American history on the floor of the United States Congress. We need to be passing a living wage on the floor of the United States Congress. And we're going to send a message to Donald Trump and Elon Musk and every Republican in the state of Arizona that we will not be distracted. We got our eyes on the prize, and we will build the nation that we want for ourselves. Now, I understand that Donald Trump and the Republican Party's disdain for the working class doesn't just come from not being raised right. It's a shorthand for the right wing's entire political agenda and a certain ugly kind of politics that at its core is about lying to and screwing over working and middle-class Americans so that they can steal from our health care, Social Security, and veterans to pay for tax cuts for the rich and bailouts for their crypto billionaire friends. But there's a word for this kind of thing, Tucson. You know it? Corruption. I'll say it in Spanish. Corrupción. Que los corruptos vayan. And seeing all of this stack up, from how overwhelming and selfish all this looting is to the constant barrage of phone notifications and headlines day to day, is enough to make even the best of us want to give up, want to give in to despair. And trust me, I want you to know that if you feel that way, I get it. I do understand. Because when the system is stacked against you, it's hard to feel like anything you do matters, that we matter in our democracy. And And it is easy to give in to despair. And I can tell you, for a while there, when I was waitressing and working double shifts and never able to get ahead, and just when you think that you're close enough, you take 2 steps behind, you have to go, you get sick, you get a hospital bill, whatever it is. It's like you can't keep up. And when I was in that space, I did try to give up. I tried to stop caring and just keep my head down and work my shifts and accept that this is just how things are. But I'll tell you, Tucson, that's no way to live. It's no way to live. And we do not have to live like this. And in fact, we cannot live like this anymore. And I'll tell you, Trump sees the immense pressure that working people are under. But his answer to that pressure is an America where it's just every man for himself. A kind of Darwinistic society. And now that he's back in power, we can see it clear as day. Trump handed the keys of government to Elon Musk and is selling the country for parts to the richest people on the planet for a kickback. And in exchange, those billionaires will back his campaigns and those of his allies. And if you don't believe me, just look at what Elon Musk said the other week, that he would volunteer to bankroll campaigns for House members who voted to impeach even right-wing Supreme Court members who don't totally agree and don't vote with him lockstep on every case. But the clever thing is that what Republicans do is that they try to make working people like you and me feel like we're just one step outside of that club. That if we just work a little bit harder, maybe we'll be a billionaire too. Except those kinds of spoils aren't earned, Tucson. They're stolen. They're stolen. And all you need to do is look at what Republicans are doing to our health care, our veterans benefits, and Social Security. They are slashing these programs that we have spent a lifetime paying into, not them, because they don't even pay their fair share of taxes. And mind you, even if you aren't on Medicaid or Medicare, this raises your private health insurance costs too. And every single Republican in Arizona voted to cut Medicaid. Not an accusation, it was their vote. Because you see, these budgets aren't just fights about numbers. They are fights over our values that define us as a country. Because Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security were promises that we as a people have made to each other about who we want to be and the kind of nation we want to become. A nation that cares for its elders, that values people with disabilities, that thinks kids with disabilities should have access to special education. But these promises that we've made to each other are not promises from politicians to the people or charity from the rich to the poor. These are promises that we make to each other. We pay into each other. We, neighbor to neighbor, friend to friend, teacher to student, worker to worker. And to me, Tucson, the strength of our country is not just measured by the height of our best days. It's about who and what's there for you on your worst day. And that's why I'm here with you today. Because let me share with you exactly what I mean. What these folks want to call radical, I believe, is common sense. In the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, if a person gets sick, they shouldn't go bankrupt. I believe that a minimum wage should cover the minimum cost to live. Common sense. And Tucson, I believe that homes are not slot machines for investors and big banks to extort working families out of every last dollar that we have. Home is sacred, and you deserve a government that fights to help you keep an affordable roof over your head. And finally, I believe that our elected officials should take on abuse of corporate power everywhere that we find it. We must get big money out of politics and make clear that our country is not for sale. That's why I don't and never will take money from industry lobbyists or corporations. And you know, some folks, you know, maybe some local members of Congress out here or some pundits on television might have you believe that these American values are something out of the Communist Manifesto. And that we believe these things because we went to some fancy school and read them in a book somewhere. But I can tell you, we don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because we're extremists. And I don't believe these things because I'm an extremist. I believe these things because I was a waitress, Tucson. Because I scrubbed toilets with my mom to afford school. Because I've worked double shifts to keep the lights on. Because I did lose my dad to cancer as a kid and had to see my mom open the hospital bills a couple days after. And I know that we don't have to live like this anymore, Tucson. I don't want to live like this anymore, and we deserve better than this. And it's not just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us, too. And that means communities choosing and voting for those Democrats and elected officials who know how to stand for the working class. In Arizona, I want to thank you for working so hard to continue to make that happen. It was Tucson that sent a man like Raul Grijalva to Congress. And I know that you will continue to make us proud in Congress as well. In fact, one thing I love about Arizonans is that you all have shown that if a U.S. Senator isn't fighting hard enough for you in the Senate or elsewhere, you're not afraid to replace her with one who will and win. And that's how you got Mark Kelly and Ruben Gallego. And that's not all. Last week, when other Democrats caved in the Senate, your senators stood strong against the D.C. pressure and voted no against the Republican spending bill that cuts billions for the working class. Arizona stood up. Arizona had a spine last week, and I thank you. In fact, all the Democrats who represent a congressional district in Arizona also voted against the bill. So I want to shout out Representatives Yasmin Ansari and Greg Stanton for their courage. Defend them, Arizona, but don't stop there. Because you know who did vote to gut Medicaid and jack up health care costs? Every single Republican in the state of Arizona, including Representative Schweikert. So you know what that means. You know what our mission is here, right? This whole state needs to come together and give Schweikert the boot and replace him with a Democrat who fights for the working class. That's our mission for the next year, and it doesn't stop there. Every down ballot race matters. This fascist administration didn't come from anywhere. They have planted the seeds for years. PTAs, bullying people out of school boards, city councils. It's time to put our glasses on. We got an Air Force show out here. They're our backup today. We need to pay attention to every local race on the ballot, Arizona. We're taking this state over. We're taking it back. And we're going to fight for the future that we deserve. Si se puede. Vamos a hacerlo. Lo vamos a lograr. Beyond elections, our task is to build community. block associations, neighborhood groups, volunteer groups, church organizations, PTAs. Community is the tissue and the infrastructure for us to win. Union drives, standing with our farm workers. Standing together is how we win. Because community is the most powerful building block we have to defeat authoritarianism and root out corruption. It's not a mistake that all of this backsliding is happening after COVID, when we were isolated and apart. But then after that, they tried to keep us isolated and apart, because when you don't know your neighbor, it's easier to turn against them. So that's why what you do matters. Showing up to the community board matters. Showing up in person matters, because it becomes so much harder to hate someone you know. That is our mission. Don't think it's too small. There is no act too small in the next couple years. So I'll end where I began. We might all come from different places, Tucson, but we share a lot of the same experiences. So to all those who came here today unsure of whether this is where you belong, I want to say that you do. And truly, if you're here today giving this a shot for the first time, I want to let you know, no matter who you voted for in the past, no matter if you know all the right words to say, no matter your race, religion, gender identity, or status, no matter if you're a dreamer or a U.S. citizen, no matter if you disagree with me on some things, if you are willing to fight for someone you don't know, you are welcome here. If you're willing to fight for working people, regardless of who they are, how they identify, or where they come from, you are welcome here. Because here, everyone is valued. But I will say this, to those leaders on either side of the aisle who are willing to put their fellow Americans down so that they can get ahead or feel better about themselves, those folks might best find a home somewhere else. Because in this house, we stand together. Because here, we know that together, without exception, is the only way that we can win. I hope you see that this movement is not about partisan labels or purity tests, but it's about class solidarity. It's about the thousands of you who came out today to stand together and say our lives deserve dignity and our work deserves respect. No matter who we are or where we come from, we are here today to make a sacred promise to each other. Because our goal is not just to come together, share a few inspiring words, and then go back to how things were. We can't go back to how things were. Our goal today is to commit to building the kind of country we all deserve. So I want you all to look around. These are your brethren for the fight for our future. And I want you to look around. And if I can offer one assignment before we all depart here today, it is to leave this place connected to a new person you didn't know coming into this place. And I want you to turn to the people around you and greet someone you don't know. This is my favorite part. Now that we've done that, we're here to again make that promise, to take care of each other on our worst days, and to share in the successes of our best. Thank you, Tucson. It's my honor today to introduce someone who has spent his life bringing us together, someone who has given voice to the future that we deserve. Please welcome Senator Bernie Sanders.
Power to the people! Power to the people!
Tucson, thank you. My only problem today is that I don't know what I can say after what Greg and Alexandria have already said. But when people think about the future of this country and whether we have the kind of political leadership we need among the young people of America, you're looking at these guys right now. And I just want to say a word or two about these fantastic and courageous members of Congress. When Alexandria was a kid, she cleaned houses with her mom in order to earn money to pay the family bills. And after she graduated college, she worked as a barista, struggling every day to pay the rent. But she looked around her and she said, there is something fundamentally wrong in a world where so few have so much and so many have so little. So she did something rather extraordinary. Never held political office, tending bar. She said, you know what, I'm going to run for Congress. And then people said, you're out of your mind because you're running against one of the most powerful guys in the U.S. House. How can you do that? But you know what she did? What she did, she went out to her friends who held similar concerns, said, get involved with me. They started with no money, and then they raised a few $1,000s, and they knocked on doors. And they talked common sense to the working people of her district. And on election night, she won. Now, my point is not just to praise this wonderful young lady. My point is to tell you that there are Alexandras and Alexanders in this crowd right here. And there are Gregs and Alexandrias all over America. There are young people who love America, who want to see better for our country, who are smart, who are disciplined, who are prepared to roll up their sleeves and take on a billionaire class which is destroying working families all over this country. And this guy here, known for a few years, came to Congress, and because of his leadership skills, he became chairman of the Progressive Caucus in a 2-year period. And not only in Austin, but all over the country, he is doing a great job. So I just want to thank Alexandria and Greg, not only for being here today, but for inspiring millions and millions of young people all across this country. And I want to just say a brief word about our friend Raul Grijalva. I was here in Tucson a number of years ago when I was running for president. And at that point, you know, we didn't have 20,000 people coming out of meetings, and I wasn't very well known. And what Raul did, he said, I like what Bernie was saying. I was just talking to Alita a few moments ago. And he said, Bernie is speaking what has to be said. And he had the guts to come out and endorse me and take on the whole Democratic establishment. So we will never forget Raul Grijalva and his dedication to the working families of our country. Look, my message today is simple. And what this crowd tells me, and by the way, we had 36,000 people coming out in Denver. We had 15,000 in Tempe, and now we got some 20,000 here. And what it tells me is that the American people will not allow Donald Trump to create an oligarchy in America. They will not allow Donald Trump to create an authoritarian society. They will not allow the billionaire class to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans programs, Title I funding, which will impact that school profoundly. We're not going to let them decimate the programs that the working class of this country needs in order to give more tax breaks to billionaires. Now, right now in America, you have what we call an oligarchy. And what an oligarchy is about is a handful of billionaires controlling our government. Now, some of you may have seen Donald Trump's inauguration. See it? Well, I had the unfortunate position of being in the front row. Not a good position to be in. And what I saw... Okay. And what I saw in front of me, right behind Donald Trump, were the three wealthiest people in America. Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg. But that's not all. Right behind them, there were 13 other multi-billionaires who Trump had nominated to head major government agencies. Now, some of you may remember what Abraham Lincoln said at Gettysburg. Remember what he said? Here you had a situation where thousands of soldiers died trying to end slavery. And a few days later, he looks out on the battlefield where people had died and been wounded. And he said, you know what? We have a vision of a country where we're going to have a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Well, Donald Trump has a different vision. He wants a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, and for the billionaire class. So let me tell you something now that you don't see much on corporate television and you don't hear discussed on the halls of Congress. In fact, I'm going to do something very radical. You ready? I'm going to tell you the truth. And the truth is that right now in America, the people on top have never, ever in the history of our country had it so good. A huge explosion of billionaires. These guys literally don't know what to do with their money. They buy one mansion, two mansions, not enough. They got 5 mansions. They want to get around. They own their own jet planes. They own their own helicopters, send their kids to the best private schools, the best colleges, go on vacation. They don't go to Motel 6. They own their own islands. And just for kicks, the very rich decide to take a trip to outer space on their own spaceships. Today in America, we got more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had in the history of America. Today you got 3 people on top, Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, owning more wealth than the bottom half of America, 170 million Americans. Does that make sense to anybody? You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%. While workers are struggling, CEOs now make 300 times more than their average worker. So that is one world, one America. People on top, more money than they could spend in 1,000 lifetimes. But then there's another America, and that's the America that you know. That's the America where in the richest country on earth, 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. You all know what living paycheck to paycheck is about? I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck in a rent-controlled apartment, and I know what lack of money did to my family and the stresses that it caused. Right now in America, you have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people working for starvation wages. In America today, if you can believe it, 60,000 people die each year because they don't get to a doctor when they should. So we got massive income and wealth inequality. We have more concentration of ownership in the economy, handful of giant corporations owning sector after sector, 3 Wall Street firms combined being the major stockholders in 95% of American corporations. But meanwhile, we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. Over 20% of our seniors are trying to get by on $15,000 a year or less. We got kids in this school and schools all over America who come to school hungry because their parents can't afford to buy the food they need. So brothers and sisters, this is where we are right now. People on top, enormous wealth, enormous power. And what their power is about, not just that they control the economy, they control the political system as well. Now, I don't care if you're a conservative Republican or a progressive. Does anybody think it makes sense that we have a campaign finance system where one man, Musk, can put $270 million to get Trump elected, and then his reward is that he becomes the most powerful person in government? That is not democracy, that is oligarchy. But it's not just Republicans. You got billionaire Democrats who are telling candidates, don't stand up for the working class. So we've got a corrupt campaign finance system. We got to get rid of this terrible Citizens United Supreme Court decisions. Everybody in America, every eligible voter, has the right to one vote. Billionaires do not have the right to buy elections. But what Greg and Alexandria were talking about, it's not just standing up to Trump's attacks on Congress, his attacks on the media, his attacks on the courts. You know, some of you studied American history remember that the founding fathers of this country were no dummies. They had taken on the King of England, the most powerful guy in the world, and they said, you know what? We don't want to create a nation in which one person like the King of England has unlimited power. So they created a constitution with separations of powers. You got an executive branch, the president, a legislative branch, the Congress, judicial branch, our courts. And that is the model that people all over the world have looked at. We don't want a king in the United States. We overthrew a king. We want a vibrant democracy, not all power resting in the hands of one person. It is outrageous that this guy sues media, sues ABC, CBS, Meta, threatening to investigate NPR, PBS. You know why? Because they dared to be critical of him. Oh, his feelings were just crushed. He wants everybody to bow down. Oh, you're great, you're terrific. Hey, Mr. President, if you can't take criticism, get out of politics. And for the first time, you know, there have been Supreme Court decisions that I have profoundly, as many of you have, disagree with. Citizens United, terrible decision. Undermining Roe v. Wade, terrible decision. But you know, we believe in the rule of law. And right now, what Trump is doing is a judge stands up and says, hey, you can't do that. That's unconstitutional. And now they are threatening to impeach that judge. You know, I was a few years ago chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs. And in that position, I got to meet veterans not only in Vermont, but all over this country. And I have a profound... We got any veterans in the audience today? These are the men and women who put their lives on the line to defend us and defend American democracy. And we're not going to let Trump undermine 250 years of this country being an example to the world of what democracy is supposed to be. But what Trump is doing is not only horrific domestic policies. You don't take food away from hungry children to give tax breaks to billionaires. There is no world, there is no universe, there is no religion where that is not grossly immoral. But it is not just domestic affairs. For the first time in the history of our country, we got a president allying himself with a ruthless dictator in Russia. Mr. President, it was not Ukraine that started that war. It was Russia that started the war. We don't want a murdering dictator as an ally. We believe in democracy. And we don't believe that we should continue funding the murderous Netanyahu government that has destroyed the people of Gaza. 45,000 people are dead there. 100,000+ are wounded, mostly women and children. Netanyahu government should not get another nickel of military weaponry from the United States. And if you can believe, as bad as all of that is, what they now want to do is force the 2 million people out of Gaza and build some playground for the billionaire class. Unbelievable. Our brothers and sisters, and Alexandria made this point, Greg made this point. We're going to fight Trump at every step of the way. And the crowds that I have seen tell me the American people are prepared to stand up and fight. But it's not only opposing Trump. What is very important, absolutely important, is for us never to forget We are today the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. There is no excuse for 800,000 people to be sleeping out on the streets. There is no excuse for 20 million people, including people right here, paying 40 or 50% of their limited incomes for housing. This is America. We can build 4 million units of low-income and affordable housing. We can lower rents. This is America. We should not be the only major nation on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right. The function of a healthcare system is not to make billions in profits for the drug companies and the insurance companies. It is to provide quality care to all. We can do it. We do not have to pay 10 times more for prescription drugs than do the people in other countries. We can take on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry, cut prescription drug prices in half. Brothers and sisters, we live in a competitive global economy. We need to have the best educated workforce in the world. We need to make sure that all of our kids, regardless of income, get a quality public education. We got any teachers here? Thank you, teachers. And when we talk about quality public education, no teacher in America should start off at less than $60,000 a year. These kids here in Tucson, kids in Burlington, Vermont, in LA, California, they deserve the best education in the world. We can provide it to them. And we can and should make sure that when kids want a higher education, whether it's college, whether it's trade school, we need desperately doctors and nurses, mental health counselors, dentists. We need sheet metal workers, carpenters, bricklayers. We need construction workers. We need a system that trains people to go out and do the work that needs to be done without going bankrupt. We should be making all of our public colleges, universities, community colleges tuition free. And when somebody says, well, Bernie, it's a good idea, how are you going to pay for it? I'll tell you how. We're not going to give tax breaks to billionaires. We're going to ask them to start paying their fair share of taxes. And now in, Washington, Alexandria, Greg and I, we hear from our colleagues a whole lot about freedom. Well, if we're going to talk about freedom, let us understand that the women of this country must have the freedom to control their own bodies, not the government. So, brothers and sisters, we're going to fight Trump every step of the way. And what you're saying here in Tucson, and I want you to know, what you're doing here in Tucson impacts not only Arizona. The whole world is watching. And what people all across this country are saying, do we have the guts to stand up to Trumpism and oligarchy and authoritarianism? We say yes. So the task is not easy. Believe me, I know that. Let's be clear. The oligarchs have unlimited amounts of money. You know, what for you is a cup of coffee, for them, $5 million, $10 million doesn't mean a damn thing. They got unlimited amounts of money. They control the media. They own the media. They have tremendous power over the political process. But this is what I believe. in every way, not just running for office. That's important. We need great candidates here to stand up for the working class and all across this country. It means that we have got to build the trade union movement. Do we have union members here? Thank you. We're going to make it easier, not harder, for workers to join unions. It means joining all kinds of organizations, making sure your schools are top-notch, your health care is top-notch. So we need you to go outside of the comfort zone you had yesterday. Yesterday you stood and you watched. We don't need you watching anymore. We need you involved in the process in every step of the way. So brothers and sisters, I don't have a PhD in mathematics. In fact, I did pretty poorly in school in math. But this I do know, that at the end of the day, 99% is a hell of a bigger number than 1%. They have the wealth. They got all the money in the world. They got the power. They got the media. But you know what we have that they don't have? We got 20,000 people here in Tucson. And we got hundreds of millions of people all across this country. So brothers and sisters, don't let them divide us up by the color of our skin or where we were born or our religion or our sexual orientation. Let's stand together as one people, proud people. Let's take on Trumpism and defeat it, and let's create the kind of America that you and I know we can become. Thank you all very much.